Hey, welcome back to part 3. This is Rich from Tennessee Homestead, and this one we're going to cover some of the pros and the cons of homesteading. And I'm going to stress the cons to you because I want that to be part of your conversation when you and your family look at this. One of the first things to keep in mind is when you're looking at employment situations and your finances and so forth, the rural areas, and the more rural the more this applies, incomes are considerably less, dollars and cents wise. Okay, so you got to keep that in mind. You may find a job down here doing about the same thing you're doing where you're at, and making 30 to 40% less than you made in an urban setting. Keep that in mind. I say whenever you're getting close to buying land, before you make that final determination, it's time to start hunting a job. See what kind of offers you can get, if there's any even available. Because if not, you're going to need to put that into your plans. Now you've also got the situation of, in a suburban or urban area, husband and wife both work just to make ends meet. It's not going to work on a working homestead. That's not going to work. If you're doing a little hobby farm where you are keeping it small, and you're not really looking to get into being self-sufficient and earning a little income off your property, you're going to be all right if you want to do that. Be careful of the animals you pick. You need low maintenance animals that aren't going to be a lot of time consuming situations and so forth. So that, here again, the job situation, your personal finances, is going to come into what sort of homesteader you're going to look for. So please keep that in mind. Most rural areas pay less, period. Okay? Vacations, holidays, stuff of this nature. Depending, here again, and the reason for bringing these things up is because it needs to go into part of the conversation of, gee, what kind of homestead do we really want to deal with? Well, the bigger the livestock, the more care it takes. That's it. Goats are harder to take care of than chickens. Okay? Pigs are a little tougher than goats. Cows are tougher than pigs. It's just the way it is. Each animal has its own level of care. So, when you're thinking about that, think about the time constraints. I'll give you a real quick scenario here. I had a first calf heifer, and she was one of my prize Bringus girls too, so I'd raise that little girl from a calf. And she was supposed to calf end of April. My son's wedding was middle of May. This girl went long on her pregnancy. One that gave her a greater risk, being a first calf heifer, of having complications, because the calf was in her longer than normal, which meant it had more opportunity to grow. So it was necessary for me to stay on the homestead. First calf heifers, for those of you that don't know, they're more likely to have problems during birth. And if somebody's not there to help that cow, you're probably going to come home to a dead cow and a dead calf laid out there in the pasture. So, somebody stays behind. Now, by the grace of God, there was no problems. She calved beautifully, healthy calf. She did everything by the book, and is a wonderful mother. I'll tell you what, she keeps that calf shined up like a new dime. But the fact of the matter is, because the potential was there for disaster, and a fairly decent sized financial loss, you're there. You run into that for taking vacations. There's something to be said about the grain farmers out there and cotton farmers and so forth. They put their seed in the ground. They know exactly what all that has to be done, and then when that's over with and they've made their harvest, it's time to go to Florida. Okay. So, a homestead with livestock, you're pretty much here. Keep that in mind. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great way to be. One of the things that I always fall back on is, as a kid, I used to love riding on the tractor with Grandpa out in the fields. Young kid. And that man, all he did out there was sing Amazing Grace. Knew every word to it. Didn't miss a beat. Didn't have much of a singing voice either, but he really put his heart into it. I truly loved listening to him. But finally one day I told him, Grandpa, every time you come out into the fields, you're singing religious songs. Why? And he looked at me and dead in the eye. I said, boy, look around you. This is where God's at. He's in nature. He created this garden to come down and be with us. So when I'm out here, I show due respect and let him know how much I appreciate that. That stuck. And as I've gotten older, I look around in nature and I go, yeah, Grandpa was right. So, while it has its drawbacks, it has its perks. No better place in the world to be. One of the other things I want to cover with you here on homesteading, I'm just gonna, there's no nice way to put this. If you're a BSer and don't always necessarily stick to what you say you're going to do and things of this nature, you're probably going to have problems in a rural setting. So these people will figure you out in a heartbeat. Okay? You may be talking to an old boy that's, got a deep southern drawl and a bunch of skulls stuck under his lip. And you're thinking, coming out of the city, that, oh boy, I got myself a hayseed here. And you decide to blow smoke at him. Understand, number one, you may be talking to a mechanical engineer that's highly educated. And he's looking at you thinking, this boy's a fool. Because your word in rural settings is your bond. They take it very seriously here. They don't care if you're a big bag of hot air, because it's very simple. They're just not going to deal with you. And it's going to circulate fast. I mean, it's like mass media down here. They'll stand around at the store and talk. Go down to the diner, talk. Hey, what do you think of them new guys? They're going to tell you. Alright? So it is a lifestyle change from urban settings. In the cities, it's alright to, blow a little smoke and backstab and stuff of this nature around the water cooler. That's the games they like to play. They don't play them here. And once they tag you as that, you're going to have problems. People are not going to want to do business with you. They're not going to help you out. So keep that sort of thing in mind. And when you approach this down here, it's a change of lifestyle. Now it's time changing. Okay? Be honest with people. If you don't think that there's even a remote possibility that you won't be able to fulfill your word or fulfill a promise, don't make it. Okay? Just Okay? So, you know, be good to your word. Be honest with the folks around you. And you're going to learn quickly the folks that you have to kind of keep an eyeball on. Because trust me, your neighbors tell you all about it. And sometimes way more than you want to know. Scream TMI. Here we go. So it's a hard life. You're committed to it. You're locked into it. The more livestock you add to your homestead, you're responsible for the welfare of that animal. Okay? You're responsible. You're responsible for how your land's maintained. You're responsible. You're responsible how your land produces. You're responsible. You're responsible for all those things. Okay? The days of being responsible to show up at a place for 8 hours and go home, they're gone. They're gone. I mean, let me tell you something. If at dark my tractor breaks down and I got to have that tomorrow to take hay out, it's going into the garage. And I'll be working on that. My day's not going to end till that tractor fires back up so I can get the hay out to my animals, because I'm responsible for making sure that those animals are fed. You're responsible. That's a big word. It really is. A lot of syllables thrown in there. Big city word. You do what you have to do. And brother, let me tell you something. There's going to be mornings. That alarm clock's going to go off at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And you're going to be laying there in bed and every muscle in your body's going to hurt. And a lot of times it's you and your wife both, because you've had a heck of a day. You'll look at each other and go, I don't know, I can get out of this bed. You can't. Because you're responsible for the livelihood of all those animals you got out there. And you have to know that they're okay. That's like a fella told me, well, you can get an automated door opener on your chicken coop. You don't need to be out there so early dealing with them chickens. Yeah, I can. Okay? Here's the reason I do it. It gives me an opportunity to have all those chickens in a combined area before they go out and start free ranging. Where I can take a look at them. And you get to kind of know them. And see who's looking maybe a little croupy. This one's looks like she might be being picked on. Or you might have a little frostbite on a crown that you want to treat. You get a chance to look at your animals. I frequently bring cows up to the barn to feed so that I can get out there amongst them and take a hard look at them. How's their body condition? How's their hooves? They getting any hoof rot or something like this? Is there any lesions on them where they scraped up against barbed wire that looks like it might be getting infected? Things of this nature you need to do. You need to keep an eyeball on your animals. And it forms a bond with them. You want to touch your animals. You want them to know that it's okay that you touch them. That you're not a danger to them in any way. Okay? It can save your life sometimes. Having good dogs matters. I have a Anatolian Shepherd, Great Pyrenees, that his favorite pastime is killing coyotes. Does a beautiful job of it. I have a little Australian Shepherd who watches those cattle, and if they're crowding me or they're too excited over something, which a lot of times when it's coming feed time, they'll come charging across the pasture. It looks like a stampede. And when they're doing something silly like that, that little Australian Shepherd will split from my side and go out there and stop that herd dead in its tracks and hold them there until she sees that they've calmed down, and then she'll walk around behind them and move them on up to a trough. Know your animals. On a farm, working dogs, very important. They can save your life. We don't have a lot of pets. Okay, we got an indoor cat. So please try to keep these kind of things in mind and know that there are some negatives. Life as you know it's about to end. Realistically ask yourself if this is truly a lifestyle you want. If not, maybe that little place right outside of town with an acre for a big garden and a couple of fruit trees may be your answer. If you're looking for a self-sufficient homestead, this is what comes with it. But I'll tell you what, me and a wife haven't regretted a minute of it. Haven't regretted a minute. This is Rich with Tennessee Homestead. Y'all have a great day.